On this week's show, discussing, are we looking at traveling workers the wrong way? With Yeves Perez from WorkBnB. In this week's news, diving into DFMA for residential construction. All right, I got my boy Nathan Wood here. Nathan, thanks for joining with the CDX and the Plexus Patriot Shield. I gotta love that in the background, buddy.
Oh man, I probably shouldn't be here. I'm too busy cramming for the summit, but let's do this. I'm excited.
Cramming for the summit, but you know, Yeves came on the line. It's WorkBnB. Nathan's my Airbnb, my VRBO. He's, you know, I felt like this would be a killer combination. Say hello, buddy. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
So are we. We're excited to have you, man. You're rethinking a lot. So, well, hey, with that, let's dive straight on in. So tell us a little bit about you before we get into what the heck it is you're rethinking and doing, because I am just fascinated with this. So give everybody a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, so my backstory is I come from a large real estate family out of Sacramento, California, born and raised. And you know, I really never thought about tech forever. Like, I mean, just never. I was always a consumer of tech, right? Like we all, like the most of us, apps on your phone, software on your laptops, whatever. And it wasn't until I got a phone call from my mother that she wanted help with her vacation rentals that I even thought about any of this type of stuff. Now, again, like a little bit about me, my career has taken like several turns where I've worked in customer service. I've worked a banking job. I was even like cleaning carpets for Stanley Steamer at one point. So again, like falling into what I'm doing now, you know, there was no clear pathway to construction and any of that. But I will say that once my career took another a turn, and I got into marketing, marketing teaches you about distribution and how to point a product to a specific customer. And it wasn't until I got involved with my mom in her short-term rentals that I started to learn, like, hey, your rentals, even though, you know, they're getting booked, they could get booked longer if they're pointed to a different customer. And that's how we got started with this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to break that down a little bit for folks because, again, this is one of the rarities, right? We see people rarely coming from outside of the industry in, but you got, I mean, that shirt, I love it. WorkBnB, right? Okay, so your mom calls you up and says, hey, I need help with my short-term rentals. And then you rethink it, though. You're like, wait a minute, we need to rethink this, or the two of you rethink this in some way. And then a couple of things happen along the way that really accelerate you. So talk about a little bit about that. So the folks at home know.
So the famous story goes that around the time that she was getting going, which was kind of later than most people that get into this Airbnb thing, she got into it in like 2017. And this is in Reno, Nevada, which is just a small mountain town. And then 2019 comes around, and there's like this exodus of tech companies that are leaving California. They're moving to Nevada, Texas, and Florida mainly. And, you know, you see stuff like Elon building like these mega facilities. One of them happened to come to Reno, the Tesla facilities. So she just got lucky. She was at the right place at the right time, and workers were coming in large droves. And those, you know, mega factories, you know, take years to build. So the construction managers were doing what they had always done for decades, which was like, let's just put them in hotels and motels. Like, let's just cram them in, and, you know, they should be grateful that they have a job, right? That's the attitude. But the reason why, again, you know, we're here today is because from a marketing standpoint, and this is why I wear the number 7, the 7 most dangerous words in construction is we have always done it this way. And that's where you have the turnover. That's where you have the poor retention. That's where you have the poor recruitment. in numbers, which is what we're seeing in the industry right now. So a company came to my mom and said, hey, there's no good housing options in Reno. It's too small of a market. We will pay you to set up rentals. And they paid my mom to set up 23 apartments in 3 weeks. So she calls me, her oldest son, out of nowhere and says, hey, Yeves, I need you to come up to Reno and help me set up apartments. I bought you a plane ticket. You need to be here tomorrow. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I've got a whole life. And at the time, I was doing marketing and advertising for Chevrolet. I was on the team that helped launch the Chevy Volt in Southern California. I got to work with Solar City. So I was moving and grooving in like my marketing career. But I figured if I don't help my mom, do you know how bad this is going to look for the rest of my life? Like,
you can't come back for that.
She called me for help. And I'm never going to get invited to Thanksgiving again. So again, like I got on the plane and we went up there. And at first I thought I was just going to set up apartments and then leave. But she asked me the marketing question, how can I get more clients like this? And I said, well, you're using the wrong language. You're calling your rentals vacation rentals. That's not what they're looking for. They are workforce travelers. And there's this large term that they're trying to solve, which is workforce housing. And it gets confused with a lot of different things. It gets confused with affordable housing, but it also just it gets confused with availability, like accessible housing. So, which in marketing terms means that it's only dedicated to this demographic. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the current housing situation that is going on with short-term rentals, it only considers this one ideal customer profile. This is a tech podcast.
You got it.
Ideal customer profiles is where the problem starts. And none of these tech companies ever considered construction guys as like a customer profile. So therefore, none of the tech really works for them. And that's where we said, okay, let's reverse engineer what this needs to look like. And we started down that journey.
Nathan, you got to love that, right?
I'm having so many notes here because we've had this conversation around mega projects, and you mentioned, the Tesla Gigafactory in Reno. There's a ton of them all over the Midwest, and there's very serious challenges with how do you deal with workforce housing, and it's almost like the same demands they were having around pop-up hospitals in like the early COVID days, kind of this like urgency, and almost like that's where our construction brains go is like, oh yeah, like we just need to build more stuff, right? Because build this like temporary. But I think you've got a great solution there where it's like, whoa, wait a minute, how much available housing is there already that is either left vacant or is not fully optimized? That I think you're really onto something.
Well, just to educate you a little bit more, even the mining industry for the longest time, mining industry relied on companies to provide these like pop-up man camps where it's like, have you ever been to a high school and seen like a temporary trailer? Mm-hmm. Like they use those same trailers that they use on high schools to put bunk beds in them. That's what they use in mining camps. There's no running water. There's no like real heating system. And they have to use mobile showers and mobile like eating facilities. But again, like this is how they've done it forever. Yep. So again, I was just like putting the two together. I said to myself, okay, well, this is a timing thing. And again, what works in tech is timing. You can be too early and sometimes too late in tech. So the timing aspect was that COVID was right around the corner and a lockdown just hit, which means all the vacation travel stopped all at one time. So there were thousands of properties throughout the country that were just empty for months. And those properties, for the first time, received traveling nurses and construction workers for the very first time. And it was a precipice to say, okay, if we build what's called an online travel agency, it's a tech product that facilitates the booking of housing for a specific customer, then we could convince property owners to say, you know what, the value proposition for you is that you don't have to worry about somebody partying at your rental and trashing it, number one. And number two, you're getting paid by a company. And the people that are coming to stay at your rental are improving your community. So it's kind of like a triple win. And when we went out with that early messaging in 2021, we were signing up properties all over the country before we even built a product. And that's where the magic happened.
Wow.
Just rethinking the problem. And you know, we talk about this on the show a lot. We're a tech podcast, but we also, you know, really are connected to the tradespeople that build the world around us. And
Right.
And there's so many challenges. You know, when we first talked, I was thinking back to, you know, I had at Gallegos Masonry when I worked there, I had a bunch of folks and you know, one person was like the FaceTime for all the folks that, you know, all their family and everything. And, you know, I think I talked about this with you, is like one time I saw the data get really heavily used and I, you know, reached out to the person and it told me that, you know, oh, well, everybody comes to me and I FaceTime, and I'm like, oh, we don't have Wi-Fi in our housing.
Right.
Oh, no. So, oh, okay, we got to go do that. So you've rethought a lot of what it means to support those workers. So it's not just, hey, we're going to change our ideal customer profile from vacation to work. We're going to amplify our product. So talk a bit about how you look at amplifying the product for these folks, cuz man, it has so many far-reaching implications.
Right. So again, you know, working with like Chevrolet and, you know, other big brands, you learn branding. And in marketing, this is a very famous quote. Okay. Marketing is like a guy asking a girl on a date. Okay. Branding is the reason why she says yes. Okay. So the thing is, you know, again, we had to reverse engineer everything. And what that meant was that we had to use new terminology too, not just tech. We had to create new terms. And one of the terms that I coined for my mom's business, going back to the vacation rental problem, I said, you're calling it vacation rentals. I said, let's start using the term workforce rentals, so that now the product fits them and they can identify with it and say, you know what, I'm staying in a workforce rental. This is for me. And we had to change like the whole model. So again, like if you go into the vacation rental industry and let's say you go to like a conference, they're going to have all these speakers that talk about what colors to use, what should be in the rental, how the pillows should be like all this fluffy stuff for the vacation industry. Even when you go to the platforms, they try to tell you how to name your rental. You know, cute cottage steps away from the beach. Like it's all this fluff that works for that demographic. For the workers, the majority of them don't even get to choose where they stay. That's the real problem. So you're not necessarily selling just the workers on this concept, but the companies and the people that run the companies as well. They have to be sold on this. So that's what makes us different. We are a B2B platform. That's the big difference. All the other platforms, you book for yourself. In fact, if you wanted to book, Jeff, a Airbnb for Nathan, let's say he was coming to visit you, you have violated the terms of services because the person who's staying is supposed to be the person booking. So again, like we had to figure all this stuff out and say, okay, you know, let's go a different way. But one other thing that I really want to emphasize on is that we also had to learn from the past. And there's a very famous tech investor. His name is Peter Thiel. He is invested in like Facebook, a bunch of other tech companies. And he says very famously in his book, 0 to 1, about the contrarian truth, and that a new innovation should be nothing like its predecessor. You can be in the similar lane, but it should be nothing like its predecessor. So one of the big things that we did as part of this reverse engineering was we said our core technology has to be different. Our customer profile has to be different. Our supply needs to be different. Our distribution needs to be different, and fulfillment needs to be different. And it's like, these are like really big things that are different. So it's like, okay, how do you do that? Well, one of the things that's super famous in tech, I'll tell you the most famous example. And Peter talks about this in a very famous talk. He said, Steve Jobs told his engineers for the iPhone, I want you to make a phone with no keyboard. Every phone had a plastic keyboard, every smartphone. Most famous was BlackBerry, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, you can't have new applications that will work with these same keypads because the keypads can't change. Mm-hmm. So his engineers were like, we don't even know how to do that. So I had to tell my team, since we're a B2B platform, we are going to have no search bar. So what I mean by a search bar is when you go to Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, it doesn't matter, Orbitz, there's a search bar at the top. City, state, check-in, check-out, how many people, right? That is the number one used technology. And we said, no, no search bar. How do we do it? We didn't know what it was going to look like months later. But again, here's what we did. We asked the companies and the people who run the companies the priority question. And the priority question reads like this. If I can solve X problem for you, which is provide better housing, outcome that we chose was boost employee morale. If we could find better housing and the result is boosting employee morale on a scale of 1 to 10, what priority would this be for you to use this product? Now, again, they haven't even seen the product yet. But again, by asking the question, they all started to say 7, 8, 9. This is a huge priority for us. We need to boost employee morale. Employee morale means better retention. Better retention means employees are saying great things about our company, which is going to help us recruit. Word of mouth is the most powerful thing in marketing. It will go farther than what you can spend. It will go farther than what you post online. So again, we had Ames Construction, first customer signing up and saying, hey, like, we love what you're doing. We love what you're building. We don't even know what the product is going to look like, but you're also building it in an innovative way so that it fits for us. And that's where we started to get believers. And then this is what I'm super excited about. Seth Alexander, who's the, at the time, he was the project executive for Nevada. And my mom and I, we provided housing for a freeway project that he was doing, freeway expansion. After we provided that service for him, he said, listen, I'm on board. I'll make the time, whatever you need, because this pain is so powerful for me as a project executive that sometimes in the past, I've had to personally sign leases for my guys. And that's insane. An executive personally signing leases just so that he can get the job done, that's crazy. So again, from a reverse engineering viewpoint, everything had to be different so that it would feel right for them. And that is how you brand a product. It's from the essence, the very beginning.
Man, I love the focus on trust though, because I mean I think that's so much of the problem with, especially in construction, choosing a software. Like you have to see it do everything and be everything before you're ever going to buy it, and so much of this stuff, like, it can't be built until you really understand what it needs to be and why it's important. And I think it's important to find folks that are willing to go on that journey with you.
This is, again, a gift of mine. Marketing, branding. I've been doing this for a long time. So coming into this field, I can see the difference. I've seen other entrepreneurs build stuff hoping and wishing people use it. And I'm like, listen, you can waste your time if you want, or you can get in the lab with them and really grow this thing. But again, you have to have a brand, and your brand has to mean something. One of the things that we came out from the very beginning, before we even wrote one line of code, we said, what are our values first? What are our values? Let's start there. And let's start with what we believe. And it just came out of my mouth. I said, we believe traveling workers matter. That's if you can't agree with that, then we don't have anything in common. And it's the commonality that gets the wheels turning for everybody involved. And then guess what happens? Seth Alexander writes a check as an angel investor. Says, I really want this to go.
Well, and you're up against an interesting time as well. You were in the right place at the right time, which is a lot of tech, right? A lot of tech is serendipity.
That's a huge
and you were there for, COVID, but now the rules are changing again, right? Airbnb and all of these VRBOs, et cetera, are coming up against new local ordinances that cost more money, that are giving you an opportunity to free up some of that available product and to give it to traveling workers because of some of those changes. So talk a little bit about how I think you're in just a second serendipitous moment for that.
Everyone supports a culture of well-being in the field and is equipped with the tools to help prevent suicide in construction. Procore Safety Qualified courses were built in partnership with our customers, elevating enhancements to their standard OSHA training. And the Bringing the Right Mindset series equips individuals and leaders alike with the skills necessary to really build resilient teams. We've made these 3 courses available for free and on demand, and they're offered both in English as well as Spanish, and they are CEU certifiable. Procore.com/certified-qualified is where we host our Procore's learning portal, and anyone can use their Procore credentials or create a free account to get started.
Yeah. Oh, man, I got to tell you. So again, my training in marketing teaches me a lot about market forces. Market forces are these bigger things that you can't control, right? Inflation could be considered market forces, other, large weather events, all kinds of things, right? Just stuff that happens that can slap you around, right? But if you learn to read it and predict it, you can learn how to catch a wave, right? And in the world of tech, I find that the best tech companies solve a pain for customers. They make their lives better. And in that vacation rental lane, we were seeing a lot of what I want to say is like a collapse of the golden years. The golden years of vacation rental were starting to wane, where it's it was unregulated and travel was at an all-time high. And people have this, sense of fluffiness that there's no cycles in business. Nothing goes down. They always think oh, it's going to be great forever. And it's these market forces are about to hit and you guys are about to get smacked. So again, we created that term workforce rentals at that time that COVID was coming in, and my mom's rentals were 95% occupied year over year. There were only a couple of days a week in between bookings, these long-term bookings that, she was experiencing. But again, here's the thing. in the regulations that you're starting to see across these markets, the term short term is defined by stays less than 30 days, typically. So it doesn't matter what the city is. It could be New York. It could be Atlanta, Las Vegas, where we are. They define the regulators define short-term vacation as less than 30 days. Anything over 30 days, it's there, right? Now again, going back to ideal customer profile, you know that your vacation traveler is not traveling for 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Very few. Yeah, very few.
Like, it's just not happening. So again, as a marketing leader, CEO that has experience in this, I said, okay, I'm going to apply for a tech accelerator called Techstars, and I'm going to convince them to give us capital and really elevate us to the next level, because I believe that with a very good go-to-market strategy, we can go to these vacation rental markets that are experiencing this regulation pain, and we can point them or pivot them to this workforce traveler who's traveling on average 6 to 9 months. And they don't have to comply with those regulations whatsoever. So it became like a light bulb, where it's like our original message was workforce rentals. Now we get to pivot a little bit in our messaging and say we're the alternative booking platform for midterm stays. And this word midterm was what the real estate people were looking for as a solution. How can I get more midterm bookings? And we became that voice to say, hey, that's us. And by the way, here are 3 cool value propositions on why you should come over here.
Man, I mean, Jeff, you live in a resort town. I mean, I'm thinking of all these resort towns that have these short-term rental laws that are really mucking things. I mean, like, I understand why they're there, but they're also mucking things up. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure for the workforce rental as well, because again, most of those workers don't live in mountain towns and all the, nice places it's so expensive to afford, or they got to drive in. And
Right.
yeah, to provide an option for them. And it's different than the long-term workforce housing, because again, like Jeff, Vail has a lot to deal with, like dealing with worker housing and everything. It's a constant issue, but we don't consider the construction, the midterm issue. That's a whole nother issue.
It's just a simple gap. And again, like you said, municipalities really want more housing for like their core workforce, right? Their police, their firemen, EMTs, all that type of stuff, right? But again, that's long term. But again, there's this temporary force that does have to come, and every city in America has a redevelopment plan. Every city in America has a city council that's dealing with new projects that get renewed or refurbished or renovated. So this constant flux of in and out creates these transient type situations where these workers have to go into motels with people who are kind of sketchy and steal their tools.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough for these road warriors. And the complaints, and I challenge any road warrior who's going to watch this podcast, drop a story, your worst travel story in the comments for this podcast, and you're going to get a lightning rod of just, my tools were stolen 4 times, back to back to back to back. Or I had to stay in a place that had bed bugs, or it was infested with spiders. Like, it's crazy what we put our hard working blue collar workers through.
The folks that are going to rent out their homes, right? Or whatever the supply side of it, right? Because I'm thinking of these, I won't say flyover states or cities, but like a lot of where these mega factories are happening are areas where you typically wouldn't always necessarily have short-term rentals, but now all of a sudden you need it, and then you eventually won't need it, but you are going to need it for like multiple years. Like that's a tricky business model, right? Like how are you approaching that?
Yeah, so with the mega projects, especially like the chip plants that are like built out in the middle of nowhere, it's hard. But guess what? The workers are willing to commute if you can find them better housing. And we already tested that in Petaluma, California, which is wine country. There's nothing but $1 million mansions up there. And the rentals that are, and trust me, we had crews that were trying to find rental houses so that they could share the house. The rents were like $12,000 a month to rent a house.
Yeah.
$14,000 a month to rent a 4-bedroom house. They were like, wait, what? So they gave us a radius of 40 miles and said, can you find us something within 40 miles? And we found it, and they were willing to drive just because it had a kitchen and it had laundry facilities.
Yeah.
So again, there's going to be flux in the beginning. In the beginning, there's going to be these little figure it out moments, right? But again, the workers are the ones that just want to feel like their companies care about them, right? And getting access to a house for the first time is a huge upgrade in their lives. And when they have great Wi-Fi and TVs that are like smart TVs that we can set up video cameras so that they can call their families on video chat, it's a major improvement compared to a tiny, little box that has a mini fridge this big.
Yeah. And just think about quality of life and overall health. I mean, I was amazed when I talked to a lot of the folks out there that do this about just how bad it is. I mean, I remember a particular drive with a couple of construction folks through Atlanta, and they were sharing those same stories, and they were crazy. And I was like, man, not even that, but like just health. Like so maybe I have a microwave and a mini fridge. So maybe I'm eating frozen burritos or half frozen burritos or leftover food, and I'm eating out at every meal. Like I'm not fueling my body correctly. And most of our, construction workers are, putting their bodies through a lot of physical labor. They're moving around, they're lifting things, they're installing things. So they also need space to stretch out. They need to fuel themselves correctly. We want that so that not only can we retain them? Can we grow? But also, are they safe? Are they showing up every day rested? I had a buddy who's like, oh yeah, I had this one motel that I basically went to Walmart and bought all new sheets and everything and covered everything so that I never slept on anything in the place. I'm like, then for how long did you not get a good night's sleep? And he's like, well, I went home every couple of weeks and got a good night's sleep. And I'm like, dude, that's totally not safe.
Right.
That's absolutely not safe. So there's so many opportunities here. And, you go back to, we believe traveling workers matter. That's the same as us. We believe that the construction workforce matters.
Right.
That they are critical to the built environment. You hit it. Everybody has a master plan. Everybody wants to upgrade their environment, but not every town has the resources. So you're saying, we'll provide them the resources for medium term so that they can improve your world and deliver on your vision. And that creates so much opportunity. There's investment opportunity now. I can see, if you're listening in and you're a real estate investor, I'm going close to those chip factories, and I might be buying up and doing some reno and some of that kind of stuff and going, hey, put us on the platform, because look, a chip plant, there's going to be people coming in and out of that. It's actually going to build a city eventually. There's a tertiary economy that's going to happen forever around that. So like, now's the opportunity. You're creating so much opportunity through a fundamental problem in the industry. And I love that you're coming at it with, a marketing and a style we deserve that. The construction industry has, we have a marketing problem in general.
Right.
And so we need people like you that are jazzed, that understand how to, give us that facelift to make us new and modern and
make it cool.
Deliver. And
actually,
cool.
Make it cool. Because again, we have these youth that want to be TikTok dancers, right? Now, TikTok may go away. We don't know. Okay. That's market forces. We don't know how that's going to work out. Okay. Whatever that's going to be, it's going to be. But in the meantime, how can we expect young people to get excited when they hear their fathers and their uncles complaining about where they went, right? Not about the job that they worked on, but complaining about the conditions that they were in. How can we expect them to get excited, right? Now, again, all we're doing is we're saying, hey, there's a better way to do things. And this inventory has an opportunity to find a different customer profile. Of course, the mega mansions aren't going to fit. And of course, the luxury high rises aren't going to fit. That's for a specific demographic, right? But again, there are lots of rentals that are average. There's nothing special about them. Like literally the host went to IKEA, grabbed a bunch of furniture for like $8,000 and slapped it up on and they're hoping to make some money. There's a lot of them. And there's a lot of them that went into working class neighborhoods and tried to make the inside of the place nice, but they can't control the outside of the neighborhood. Well, guess what? Those workers come from those neighborhoods. So they're not worried. They're like, listen, this is home to me. Like, I would love to be in this neighborhood rather than some, Motel 6 or an extended stay America that is a commercial district that is nothing but parking lots. And I don't really get a sense of feeling I'm in a community whatsoever, right? Like, that's really the difference. And here's the other thing that's super cool. And here's a big difference in the vacation rental business. And Nathan, you probably heard about this. The vacation people complain all the time. Oh, the house stinks. Oh, there's a few bugs. Oh, there's this. Oh, I don't like the neighborhood. It doesn't feel safe. Blah, 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 blah. Right? The workers are grateful. They're so grateful. They don't complain. If something's broken in the house, they fix it. They'll tell the owner, hey, there was a leak under the sink and I fixed it. You're welcome.
Hey, listen.
That was fun.
Vez, you might not know this. I know you won't know this, but we've had this guy on the show many, many years ago named Darren Roos.
I was just thinking of Darren Roos.
And the rooster, we call him the rooster. And the rooster would go into every hotel. And as soon as he would get into the hotel, he would create a punch list.
Right.
And he would fix it. And once he was done with the punch list, he'd actually ask to be moved to a different room. So right. Darren Roos, I am telling you that there is a brand new opportunity for you to travel the country and fix up houses and have a great time and really make homes for people, buddy. So that one's for you. I'll make sure I
I'll make sure
Darren.
to get him a few free nights too, so that he can experience it. Because again, this is an exercise in storytelling. And here's the thing. The data is just crazy. The construction industry has like one of the highest suicide rates, right? Mm-hmm. It has, but again, what's the underlying underneath that? It's extremely stressful. They're traveling at an all-time high. There's work at an all-time high. Mega projects are being delayed because they can't get enough workers, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm in Las Vegas. I mean, we've got a 7-year mega project. The high-speed rail project between LA and Vegas is about to break ground. That's 7 years. The Oakland A's are relocating to Las Vegas. They're going to implode. You guys been to Vegas, right?
Yep.
Remember the Tropicana right there?
Yeah.
Right. They're blowing up the Tropicana, and they're putting a mega baseball stadium right on the strip.
On the strip. Man, that's crazy.
And then on top of that, they're building a $2 billion, what do you call it? Film studio. Sony Pictures is bringing
Yep.
Hollywood to Las Vegas. And that's not on top of all the $18 billion worth of projects. There's not enough workers in Las Vegas. That's all I'm trying to get to. There's not enough for how many people that work just in. That's not including the people who are in like the different categories of like home builders, right? Like you can't put everybody into, oh, we do this. Yep. There's large industrial contractors, there's specialty contractors, there's electricians, there's, this, and this. There's not enough workers, period. So, again, how do we come at this from a big problem? We have to look at everything, not just tech. Yeah. We have to look at employee morale. What is employee morale? And how do we approach it? How do we even measure employee morale? And then we have to look at, again, housing policies. What can be fixed there? And then, again, here's like, a big thing. The ideal customer profile. Who pushes the button? Well, guess what? It's not the worker who pushes the button. It's the HR and it's the operations team that pushes the button. So again, we have to hit all these things right. And the way to do it is to build a brand that says we are the brand that you can count on.
Well, and we're always looking at, we don't have enough people everywhere, and we always have to stand out. There's a competition for that workforce. There's, and so, but there's also so many efficiencies when you think about it. I just think back to, just how much every construction company has to deal with this when they deploy to projects and when they're trying to find it. And like you said, they're signing leases themselves, or they're heading out and outfitting houses and trying to do all of that work. We did work up in some of the other places like you're talking about at my former company. And again, it was just such a hassle. And in a lot of respects, you're putting your own company on the line, signing those leases and doing those things and getting the people what they need. So you're cutting through all that nonsense and making it very efficient for the construction companies themselves. It's a powerful product to bring to the market. So I'm excited. Nathan, what do you got? Last question.
I got a big takeaway out of this that I'll drop a bomb at the end, because you mentioned earlier branding versus marketing, and that's just been kind of ringing in my head and the analogy that you gave. And I guess the question that I'll pose to maybe both of you is, in this very big issue of construction talent recruitment and retention, is our problem with marketing what we are saying to them, what we're asking, or is it with branding, how we're saying it? Because those are two very different things to change. Like, is it we're saying the right thing, we're just not saying it the right way? Or is it we're not even saying the right thing? I don't know. Yves, right. What do you, as an outsider, what do you think?
Well, as an outsider looking in, I don't want to get in trouble, but
we're in a safe space here.
In a lot of ways, I want to say there's like eras to things, right? Steve Jobs was in a certain era, right? There are other masterminds in marketing that were in different eras. I just happen to be like this new face in the right time, in the right era. So I wake up with a sense of purpose that improving the lives of millions who travel for work, it's not a job anymore. This is a purpose in my life that I get to use my love of language to experiment and land on the right words with the right power behind them. There's energy behind words. Mm-hmm. And when people take it in and they have like an aha moment, like just like this, boom, right? you don't even have to say much after that. Because again,
it's better you don't, right?
They enroll themselves. I'm enrolled. I'm engaged. Tell me more. How do I sign up? You know, in tech, we call it product market fit. That's a tech term that we use, product market fit. And I'm excited to say right now that a pre-seed tech company has achieved product market fit because we started with brand first. And we started to get those right words first. Because product market fit is just a couple of words away, not features. That's the confusion. In tech, everybody tries to launch a new feature. You've seen it. We got a new feature. Oh, there's a new feature. Oh, there's like what?
Feature creep and feature.
Right.
Yes. The featured
That's
me
the wrong way to do things.
No.
It's like, no, get this sense of belonging right. That they belong to this brand.
Nathan, you've been on how many of these with me? We don't get a lot of people on that have laughed and enjoyed themselves as much through the struggle of creating a company and starting something. And I think that's truly the difference between a person who's building a product and a person who has a purpose. And you stumbled into and found a purpose, but you had the wherewithal and the serendipity to grab a hold of it and say, there's more, and just start pulling at it. And so with that, man, I got to wrap us up on the interview. I think I could talk to you for another hour and a half and just listen to you laugh and have a good time. So I think we'll have to do it again in the future, but tell everybody where they can learn more about what you're up to so they can connect. Cause I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are going to want it.
Well, one thing I do want to encourage people is to learn about our story through Techstars. You can go on YouTube, look at our Techstars demo day pitch. I want to give a big shout out to Techstars because they gave us $120,000 to get going to the next level, which then got us accepted to the NFL supplier program. So now we're a proud supplier to the NFL. And that's where product market fit falls into place. So go to YouTube, find us. You can find us at workbnbapp.com. And I encourage you to get ready for our mega beta launch. Beta is our big coming out. That's where we will be available throughout the country. We've been testing in 7 states so far, but now it's time to go big and, get this out there, because what I envision for the future is that we take this company public, and it's going to be great to see a brand that's publicly traded that helps blue collar people. That's going to be a seminal moment, a big, huge moment. But then also, we want to take this product and this brand around the world, because guess what? Construction is in every country, and it is forever.
So one thing we're never going to stop doing. We've always got to build.
So
it's never
we
stopping.
are on your team. WorkBnB is on your team. And I want to thank you guys for holding down this space for construction tech to, again, tell the stories of the pain of who we're helping. So thank you for having me.
It's been great to have you, man. And stay along with us, because we're going to get into the construction technology news of the week. Back in 2020, I heard about a new software platform called Join. Within minutes of seeing Join, I knew it had the power to revolutionize collaborative project delivery. In fact, I was so sold on Join that I joined the team as its industry evangelist. Many trade shows and podcasts later, Join is now used by 50% of the ENR top 30. Why? Pre-con and ops leaders at DPR, Bolt, McCarthy, Barton Mallow, Clark, and others say that they like Join because it does 2 big things: collaborative, trackable decision-making, and awesomely simple visuals. Want to learn more about the power of Join? Go to www.join.build/demo to learn about how better gets built. Nathan, what do you got for us, buddy?
Man, I mean, this whole conversation got me thinking about integrated project delivery and like on some of these bigger projects, like how do you just incorporate housing into it? But one of the questions that I get a lot as we're out and about is, data on whether it's design build contracts or IPD or kind of this, is there any growth? Is there any momentum? So thank you, Dwando, for sharing this link to DBIA. Shout out to Brian Skripak. I'm sure he had some hand in this DBIA data source book. So there's some great data in there. I encourage you to dive in there and find the piece that makes sense to you. But the one I'll read here, design build is the fastest growing, most popular project delivery method in the nation and will account for nearly half of all construction spending by 2026. So again, it's DBIA. So of course they're going to be a little bit on the self-serving bias of that, but I think it's always good to see that there are numbers showing that more collaborative, more integrated ways of building are on the rise. This doomsday of we're never going to get out of design, bid, build projects, I think is slowly subsiding. But there are arguments where there are certain situations where I don't think it ever will go away, and we can kind of deal with it. So I think regardless, cool to see that we are moving slowly towards being more collaborative. And thank you, DBIA, for putting out more officials numbers to that so we can start showing them the rest of the world and creating this 2026 reality. Jeff, what do you think?
This is awesome because I mean, that's what we've been talking about the whole time is that we have a problem with the way we've always done it. And design build's been around for a while, but I think the change and the timing and honestly, the forces outside with how much we have to build, how much we've changed what we care about when we build, for those facilities has really driven things like DBIA, but man, and design build. And I'm with you. I'm just thinking this is an opportunity for early teaming to involve, hey, we're going to trust everybody and we're going to show that trust, show that investment by giving new housing, giving a new opportunity, putting people up and putting that into the earliest sections of the plans. We talk about, and, spoiler alert, we're going to get into design for manufacturing and assembly, but, we always talk about how we need those things early in the McClemmy curve and how much of an impact we can have. How cool would it be to know that, hey, I'm going to be building and I'm going to be up against a $2 billion new stadium in Vegas. So if I want to house the best workers and the best quality, I've got to get to Yeves and get this housing lined up and say, hey, I want to be first in line and I want your primo product, man. I want to make sure I have that. So early teaming and a different way to deliver where we're all on the same team drives an opportunity, man. So I love to see that this change is, and it just got me thinking how, design build's looking at 1.9 trillion in work. Like just think about that number
with a T.
And think about all the people that need a place to stay.
Yeah. Man,
all right.
crazy.
What else you got for us today there, Nathan?
All right. Next one up, because let's talk a little bit about this DFMA, because I found this on the FrameCAD blog that's always trying to push DFMA and kind of modular and prefabrication. And so, but thinking about it in terms of residential, certainly in the US, I don't think we normally would think about residential for DFMA, but you got me thinking, Yeves, about the current conditions of, if we're not doing WorkBnB and folks are living in these kind of like temporary housing that's really more just like a motel, the kind of that you can move around. So it's like even worse than a motel. But what would be in these areas where you're building mega sites and you literally do not have the housing, but it's almost more like a pod dormitory kind of a thing where like you do have a kitchen. It is more of this like community center that you could rent out because you're going to have a bunch of different trades coming through over multiple years. But at some point you would have to pick it up and move it somewhere, right? So like it is still like transportable, but it's almost like the same way that Uber started with black cars before, they stole it from Lyft, but regardless, started the process of their own car or individuals and kind of this next progression. So I almost wonder, just like spitball on your thoughts on like what it maybe might be the next progression when you don't actually have housing and you need to create the housing, but still within your ultimate mission.
Well, simple answer, really. I mean, this is not difficult at all. But I mean, if you really pay attention to housing, tiny homes has been around for a while. I mean, And let me just clarify that. What was before tiny homes? Trailers, campers, right? Like
Airstreams, yeah.
All that stuff was before. Now you just have a little bit of an upgrade where they're still portable, transferable, shippable containers, shipping containers.
Yeah, stackable.
I mean, if these things are hot.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
they can be beautiful. They can be well designed, well executed with great finishes that last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And it's a steel frame. So you don't even have to worry about termites. I'm just saying, like, this is not hard. This is not difficult.
Well, and that's a lot of what
it just takes a commitment to say, I want to solve a problem instead of doing it the same way that we've always done it. That's really it. So again, high-speed rail projects, they go through like no man's land.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're connecting one metro to another metro. Think about what's between LA and Vegas. Nothing but desert.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity for anybody in real estate to say, you know what? I've got 5 tiny homes and I'm going to put them on some trucks and I'm going to ship them out into the middle of the desert, lease some land, hook them up to utilities, and then rent them out on this platform and make some money because it's going to be a 7-year project. Yeah. You think you're going to be done in a month? Forget that.
Nope. No, we're always behind schedule, so don't worry. We'll be late. We'll be late. We'll be there longer.
This is just again, putting the right pieces together. And
I think it's also, we've had this since the 50s, right, Nathan? We've had Sears, you could order this from the Sears catalog in the 50s. It's just, we've forgotten that you can do it with simplified design, standardization, consistent material selection, but that doesn't mean that you can't put those Legos together a little bit differently and a little bit more unique and fit the area. Like, I'm not going to want to put the thing together between Vegas and LA the same way I'm going to want to put it together if it's cruising through the mountains up here, right? There's going to be some different things that we want, but there's an ability to still create a manufacturing approach to pushing out the housing. And by the way, if we can use it to solve the problems you're talking about, we can also then use it to solve some of the real housing problems we have. So,
right. And just speaking about like destination markets, mountain towns. Okay. I'll give you a very specific example. One of my very first clients here in Las Vegas, the Penta Building Group. It's a very large construction group here
know them well.
Yep. Shout out to Chris Brooks, by the way, the pre-construction executive, who is one of our brand ambassadors. He's great. He's an angel investor in WorkBnB. So I want to give Chris a quick shout out. But they needed housing in Mammoth Lakes, California. Mammoth Lakes gets 1.7 million tourists every year just to go skiing. So that means all of the rentals that are available are only geared towards skiers, right? But Penta is building a brand new hotel for their community, and the workers have nowhere to stay. Okay. Now what's terrible about the situation is that they have to stay down the mountain in motels. They have to travel up the mountain just to get to work. And when you're trying to keep the workers happy, they're just like, listen, we can't figure this out because this market wants vacation rental market rates, what these people are willing to pay for these rentals versus what we can afford. And again, it's a mindset change that we have to convince the property owners to say, the way that you're going to actually earn more money is by better occupancy year over year. Because in the vacation rental space, you are blessed if you get to 60, 70% occupancy year over year out of 365 days. The rest of the time, you're not earning anything or you're barely getting anything. So by getting a nightly rate that makes sense for 2 years, you have no gaps. That means you are getting consistency as the win. And when you do the dollars and cents, they actually on average make 40% more than the vacation rental would. So again, if you're a real investor, do you want to make more money and deal with more headaches, check-ins, check-outs every couple of days? Or do you want to pivot to this more sustainable income source? You know, that's everybody has to answer that question. But I got to tell you, I got lucky where an investor had just happened to buy a 2-bedroom condo and he didn't relist it on a vacation rental platform. And I snatched it from him and I got him a 14-month booking from Penn.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, we got to get to Jeff, but I do think that using that Uber analogy, almost like the self-driving car of your world would be that drive to that big project site with a stackable, something you'd actually want to live in. And that It's like, it's not what you would think of as a mobile trailer to live in. It's actually something really nice, but it comes to your project. And it's like the whole next level model.
That will work. It will work. It will work.
All right, Jeff, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to take it the other way. So this one's from Cope AI. KOPE.ai. And this is it's a UK article. And you know us, we're always looking outside of our country. We're looking for areas where there's indicators. And, you know, we've seen some recent indicators in, you know, policy driving changes. Like we're talking about it now when it comes to WorkBnB and the short-term versus midterm rentals. Well, this is in the UK, there's a reoccurring story around the collapse of offsite suppliers. And this is really talking about, you know, the UK has a housing crisis just like we do. But they're seeing a significant decline in housing project starts and the failures of off-site construction suppliers, mainly because of a government-led issues in actually getting these new techniques to the market. And so we've got all this shortage, but we don't have government coming around behind us to support the way we do things. So this is really talking about, as much as it's an awesome opportunity to do design for manufacturing and assembly, Nathan, it's a big change. We're seeing offsite issues. So yeah, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Is the opposite of what the FrameCat article is talking about, is that, hey, there's some opposition to this.
I mean, I think that is the natural push and pull. I think even as you mentioned earlier, you know, like you have to be solving the problem for the customer, but really in a lot of this stuff, especially in our B2B world, you actually have to be solving two customers' problems at the same time with one solution, right? And that's the whole trick, is if you're not thinking about both sides, the supply and the demand, it can be really tricky. And so I think, yeah, we always have to tread lightly on these things, but be confident that ultimately we will get to that future state. It's just, you can invest too much too early, as you said, but you also don't want to be too late. It's a tricky game, but that's why we're in it, right? It's fun.
It's all about timing, right?
It's like gambling.
It's all about timing and commitment to the pain, like understanding it, not just on a singular level, but like what's underneath the pain. Like what we could say, here are the symptoms, but again, like what's actually really going on, and how long are you willing to commit to that? And that's to every tech founder. What are you willing to do? How much gray are you willing to get?
Yeah. How long are you willing to play that short game? It takes a really long time to be an overnight success. So you've got to be willing to have that time and that grit.
Yeah.
And last one, this is an easy one for everybody. I am a huge fan of AEC Inspire. My good friend Lonnie Compton's over there. I caught their recent release of their update, AEC Inspire release 2.7. Might not sound crazy. I know we were talking about features, etc., but they do have a bunch of new features, and this is for electrical contractors, a ton of new stuff in takeoff and detailing. But here was the reason I wanted to do it, because, you know, I'm not a detailer, you know, I'm not doing electrical takeoff, but this is the first ever. They're giving out AEC Inspire Personal Pro trials, so you can dive in and get to work with the technology. You know this, we need to touch technology in order for us to experience it and to get it better. So thought I would throw this out there. Thanks, Lonnie and the team at AEC Inspire, for showing me it was out there. And you guys, if you're an electrical contractor and you're not using it, you need to go out and give it a check, because now's the time to get a free personal trial to see what it's all about. Nathan, I know you know Lonnie. I know you know the team there.
I mean, anytime you're giving out a free trial, I'm all about the crack method. you gotta let them try it first, get hooked, and then they'll come back for more, right?
Get them hooked, and then they come back for more. Listen, guys, I wish we had more time. We don't. I want to say thanks, Nathan. I knew you'd love sitting down with this one.
This is fun.
I knew you'd love it. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you for sitting down with me today.
No, thank you. Thank you, Yeves.
And Yeves, thank you, man, for sitting down with us today and going through it all with us.
Yeah, anytime, guys. And I'm looking forward to the future, just because, again, there's so many opportunities to improve the lives of millions of people. So I would love to do like an update where it's like, hey, we heard you're doing this project, you're here, you're there. Like, tell us what's going on. I would love for even to get some of our investors on and some of the contractors that we're working with, so that we can make this more of a party, because you're going to hear this brand more often as we expand across the country.
I think you're right about that, Nathan. I see we're in Vegas a lot.
I'm going to say, yeah. We'll have to hang out on the strip.
In Vegas. I see an opportunity here for us sometime to do one of these in person. All of us catch up
with that, and
maybe get a few of the people who are experiencing the product, so we can let them tell the story.
Yeah,
because that is what it's about, and it's awesome to see you helping all those people. So thanks again, my man.
And hey, guys, listen, send me your shirt sizes so I can send you some swag, because you got to have the swag.
Hey, it's all about brand. It's all
you gotta
about
find
swag.
A medium. I'm a medium.
He's a medium. Don't worry, we'll get him over to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in today to geek out for our interview with Yeves Perez. To read all our news stories, learn more about our guests, and to listen to the show, visit thecontechcrew.com. This is the ConTech Crew signing out. Until next time, enjoy the ride and geek out.